So let's kick things off with how to create a system, and this will be a step-by-step explanation of the process of how you can assemble all the things you do know into a system. So the prerequisites for this are that you are already knowledgeable in at least 4 or 5 components, and by components I mean stuff that you can use in a trading system. Facebook, thank you for the follow. Paolo, thank you for the little sip. You suck at reversals, you were looking at something in the Discord and I came up with a video. Nice, I appreciate it. So, like I said, if you don't already know a few things, then this is not gonna work, but you need to learn a few things first. Like, for example, what am I talking about? What do I mean when I say you need to know some components? Let me give you a list of all the possible components that I can think of that can be implemented into a trading system. How long are you planning to stream? I had to take a movie break for you for like 1 hour and 15 minutes. So the first component, market structure. You can look at liquidity. Let me zoom out a little bit more so that my writing looks prettier. The more zoom out you are, the better your writing looks. That's a hack. So one thing that you can look at is market structure. You have liquidity, and by this I mean everything that's related to liquidity, even fair value gaps. You can look at volume profiles. You can look at ranges. Ranges kind of ties into market structure, but it's still something important. You can look at open interest, CVD, RSI, moving averages, VWAP. You can look at the order books or order flow. You can look at, tell me other things that you can look at to open trades. Support and resistance. Order blocks and breakers. Let's put fair value gaps and inverse fair value gaps right here. Even though they are kind of similar to liquidity. You can use MACD. POC is related to volume profiles. VAL, VAH is related to volume profiles. You can use quarterly cycles, which includes true daily open, true session open, quarters and everything. You can look at harmonics. You can use ice lines. True daily open, true session open is inside quarterly cycles. PO3 is inside ranges. Candles themselves, yeah, candle theory. Like there are so many things that you can use. And the thing that most beginners do is they learn something about all of these. I know something, so I would be able to implement any of these into my trading system except order flow, candle theory, ice lines, and harmonics. Everything else I've traded it at least 10 times. There are people who use astrology and the red moon. I mean, I'm not gonna go into that, but like this is like generally speaking for guys in this circle of trading, because of course you can mention fundamental analysis and other stuff, but this is just like technical analysis, okay? So anything that you can see on the chart, take a screenshot and put this into Chroma for newbies. Good list. I will record this stream and I'm gonna post it in Chroma, so then people can just look at this. But yeah, maybe a screenshot if I tie up, if I make an educational post about how to make a system, then yes, this is a good screenshot. But so the main thing is you have so many things that you can possibly use, right? However, you will never use all of them because, well, you're not a robot, you're not a machine, you cannot take all these into account. And even if you do, you will never find all of them being in Confluence. You will never find, trend lines as well. Like there are so many things that you can use, but now your goal is to find only a few out of these that when combined, they create a trading system. So how do you go about it? How do you start with let's put one more so that there are 20 things. Let's put one more thing. Anyway, let's say 19 things. How do you go from 19 things into creating a profitable trading system? And there are two possible approaches. And this is used when you are trying, this is used in finance and statistics, when you're trying to find a function. So like f, the function of the variable x, is a component of many x's, like something like this. And this is basically our trade. So in our case, it's gonna be our system that's built from component 1 plus component 2 plus so on. And you have two possible approaches. The first approach is called general to specific. And this is where I'm gonna spend most of my time on. And the second one will be the opposite, specific to general. What do these mean? General to specific, it means that you start out with many and you start reducing them until you are left with few that work well together. Specific to general means you start out with few, one or two, and then you keep adding things until you are satisfied with the result. Right? It's called simplification. Thank you. Thank you for the explanation. So, let's say you want to start general to specific, right? The thing you need to do is, of course, even 19 is too many in the beginning. Decide on 10. Let's decide together on 10. I want to use market structure. I want to use liquidity, volume profiles, fair value gaps and inverse fair value gaps, open interest, CVD, VWAP, moving averages. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Two more. We want to use quarterly cycles and support and resistance, right? So this is our first 10 that we start with. What do you have a degree in, Monessa? Wait, my headphones died. Is it better if I just stream like this? Yeah, let's just stream like this. I don't think you guys have ever seen my face without a headphone. You can see the headphone dent. Yeah, I wear my headphones almost the entire day. So yeah, yeah, I've got ears. Yeah, I know. Now imagine I had ears like this. Like, no offense to people that have ears like this, but like, surprise you with some big ass ears. So yeah, like I said, let's say we start with 10 things. So we are looking at market structure, liquidity, volume profiles, OI, CVD, moving averages, VWAP, support and resistance, fair value gaps, and quarterly cycles. Okay, so we already got our list down from 19 to 10. So now we have these 10 things. Hello, Sergio. Yeah, looks more baby boy. That's because I'm shaved. You don't want to see me after 4 days of not shaving, because I'm gonna look like a monster. You remember the FVG haircut? So there was a time without headphones. I think then I just took off my headphones to show you the cut. Okay. Now, what do we do now that we have 10 components? Because even 10 components is too many, and you will never find a way, or you'll never find a trade that contains all of them. Ooh, Sand Hussins is the new richest person in the chat. Thank you for redeeming it. Yes, I'm doing very well, and thank you for redeeming that. Let me update it. The next redeem will be 140 points. So you need to create two things. You need to create, so let's imagine your Chrome window, right? Here you have your trading portal, let's say Teal Street. Next to it, you will have a Google Sheets, sheet number 1, and then next to it, you will have sheet number 2. Sheet number 1 will be your checkbox, and sheet number 2 will be your journal. Now sheet number 2 will contain all these elements, right? Because it's a checkbox. And every single time you want to open a trade, first you will go to sheet number 1 and see how many out of these checkboxes are checked. You need at least half of them. So in our case, we have 10 boxes. So let's say that, and you will need to look at each of these components and you will need to assess whether or not they tell you to long or to short, right? So let's say we want to take a long and market structure tells us to long, maximum, thank you for the follow, liquidity tells us to long, volume profile tells us to short, OI tells us to long, CVD tells us nothing, moving average tells us to long, VWAP tells us to long, support and resistance tells us to short, fair value gap tells us to stay flat, and quarterly cycles tells us to stay flat. And now we have made this count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things in our confluence. So if it's at least 5, then we will long. If you have 8 components, you need 4. If you have 6, you need 3. If you have 5, you need 3. Like, it's always at least half of the components need to tell you to take that trade. And in this case, we have 5 components that tell us to long, 2 that tells us to short, and 3 that tell us nothing. So in this case, we will take a long, right? So this is the first step. Step number 1 is assess the checkbox that contains all the elements that you are currently testing, right? And here, let's say you took the trade, and then as soon as you enter the trade, you will go to your journal and you make your first journal entry. And your journal entry will look something like this. Trade number 1, BTC, long, whatever the hell you want, except like this. And then here comes the important part. You will have all these components, you will have them as columns. So market structure, liquidity, volume profile, OI, and so on, right? Let's actually use CVD. And then let's say the result of the trade is you win 2R. So if you had this component, under that column you will put a 2 because you won 2R. Again, we had liquidity, so I'm gonna put a 2. We had a volume profile. We didn't have a volume profile. Actually, the volume profile told us to short. So what will we put? A -2, because we did long against the volume profile and we got a 2R win. So for the volume profile, it's gonna be a -2. And for CVD, because CVD told us nothing, it's gonna be a 0. You take the next trade, let's say it's an ETH short, and just for the sake of not writing even more columns, let's actually just write just fair value gap, and let's say that for this trade we had the market structure in our favor but we lose, the liquidity wasn't in our favor, so we're gonna put a +1. The volume profile told us nothing, so I'm gonna put a 0. CVD told us to short, so I'm gonna put a -1 because it was a short that we lost. And the fair value gap told us to short again, so I'm gonna put a -1 again. And you do the same thing with every single trade. If it's a win, you put the number, or anyway, if after a trade you put the number, the result, the RR, under the columns of the components that told you to take that trade. You put 0 under the columns of the components that didn't tell you anything. And from the components that told you to take a trade against the trade that you did, you're gonna multiply your result by -1. Okay? Is everything clear until now? Any questions, just please ask. I'm more than happy to answer them. I'm gonna sip a little bit of my water while you type out your questions, or if you don't have any, just say all is good in chat or anything, so that I know that I can proceed with the next part. We love your content, we learn a lot, thank you. I appreciate it, man. I really love doing this. All good, Monessa. What do you mean, huh? You told me you have a degree. So basically this method allows you to find out indicators that work best specifically for you. Yes, yes indeed, because all these things work. I will never say that, oh, RSI doesn't work. I don't use RSI, but I'm never gonna say that it doesn't work, because there are people that can make it work, and if you wanna make it work, you can make it work, alright? So let's say we took 50 trades, let's just put the last trade in as an idea. Let's say this was a 3R trade with market structure, liquidity, volume profile, and fair value gap, right? After any number of trades, I would say that 50 is a good step. But even if you do it like after 2 months or after 1 month, after each of these periods of time or number of trades, you can do the calculations. You simply draw the line and you add everything up. And in this case, for the sake of this example, that with only 3 trades and only 5 components, you're gonna have, for market structure is gonna be a +4, for liquidity a +6, for volume profiles a +1, for CVD a -1, and for fair value gap a +2, right? So now you will have this list for all 10 things. So let's ease things up a little bit and let's give you some hypothetical results. Oh, and also another important thing will be the number of trades that you've taken using them. So let's say with using market structure, out of 50 trades you took 40 and you have a plus 20R. You took 40 trades in general, so again 40. Maybe you didn't use volume profiles for all of them, maybe you didn't use OI for most of them, CVD, moving averages, VWAP. Basically you put the number of trades in which you use these components and you measure the results. So let's say you have these results. VWAP, let's say 10, support and resistance 20, FVGs 35, and quarterly cycles 30. So then you will look at these and you will look at which components did the worst. In your case, again, it's not the components that are wrong, it's you maybe not understanding them well enough or just don't fit your system that you want to build, right? Ooh, Paolo got the who is the richest back. He's sniping that. Let's get his name back on there. Okay, so after this first round of testing, what do you think we're gonna eliminate? And you can go one by one. I prefer in the beginning to go for 2 of them at once. Basically I wanna go from 10 to 8 to 6 to 5 to 4. I'm looking to reduce like 20% each time. Of course, we're gonna cut out the moving average and we're gonna cut out the CVD, right? Anything else was pretty decent, so we're gonna keep them. And here comes the part that everyone loves. You cut these things off, and now you're left with 8 things, and you're gonna start the process all over again for another 30 trades, let's say. After 30 trades, you have 10 R. Maybe it was a rough patch for you, but still, even if it was a rough patch, you will be able to see some decent results. Let's say something like this. After these new rounds of testing, we will eliminate open interest and VWAP. So now you are left with 6 components. And now at 6 components, it's actually the hardest to do, because it can differ from market period to market period. And I would say that when you are at 6, you can either conduct the experiment again or just rotate these 6. My system, the one that I use right now, uses market structure, liquidity, volume profiles, and fair value gaps. I think the sweet spot for any system is to have 4 to 5 components. So when you are at 6, you can either just pick the 4 you like the most, but always keep an eye on the other 2, and your system will be, I always need to have these 4. If I have any of the other 2, that just adds confidence to my trade. But now you're basically almost done. You have your trading system with the 4 components. And as you know, for me, my system is, I need high time frame confluence with the market structure. I need price to sweep liquidity and reverse the market structure, or invert a fair value gap at a key level of the volume profile. Maybe you make it work something else with these 4 components, but now again you have your system and your checklist will be based on these 4 things. So every single time that you want to enter a trade, it needs to have all 4 things. It's not going to be half anymore. 3 is not enough. 4 of your components need to always be there. And it's these 4 that you've chosen as your main ones. If you have a support and resistance level that adds to your trader's confluence, that's fine. If it lines up with a true daily open or true session open, that's fine. But these 4 need to be there every single time. I hope that's clear. And now you have built your system. Sounds easy, right? Is there anyone in the chat that hasn't understood the way you go from having 10 components to having 8 to having 6 to having 4? I hope, please ask me if you didn't understand. Again, as a reminder, is you need to have like a list of all things, and then you keep testing them, you count the results for each component, and then you add them up. Nah, Andy, he was just kidding. He was just kidding. You don't know, Zalekis he's a troller. He's a troll. I don't know why I said troller. Yeah, he was... Ooh, Monesa man with Who is the Richest. Damn, did 5 minutes already pass? Yeah, I have it every 5 minutes. Okay, let me make it 180. Yeah, he was just kidding. And now let's talk a little bit, but just a little bit, about the other type. So this was general to specific, where we went from having many to having few. Now specific to general, like I said, it's the opposite. You start with few and you go to have many. However, it's let's say a little bit more difficult, in the sense that you start by picking out only 1, maybe 2, and it's more trial and error in the sense that you all are only looking at market structure and moving averages, let's say, as an example. And then you continue adding two things to this core. So let's say you decide that you will always want to use market structure and liquidity. So this will be your core. And you start by thinking about things that work together. So let's say on top of market structure and liquidity, you try to add OI and CVD, right? You try it out for a month and this gives you a result of 10R. In the next month, so let me type it, 10R here. In the next month, you will take other two, for example, moving averages and RSI. You try out, you completely knock these two, but you keep using these two together with these two. So this month you make 5R. And then your third month, you will maybe choose volume profiles and fair value gaps. Again, I just want to reach the same conclusion. And you use this and you make 30R, right? So until you reach something that you're happy with. Maybe you're happy with 10R and then your experiment is done after the first month. But let's say you want more and you reach this and you find a system that you're comfortable with. And then that's it. This is your new system. Market structure, liquidity, volume profiles, and fair value gaps. So this is specific to general. Instead of having a big list of things and then cutting them off, you start with a really small core and you keep adding things to it, 2 by 2, and things that work together. Don't add, let's say, VWAP and volume profiles because they both use volume but show you different levels, right? But they need to make sense together. And now that you have your core system with market structure, the liquidity, the fair value gap, and the volume profiles, right? You think that you are done, but you are in fact far from being done. Now it's about improving the system. So what you will do is keep this core of things, and just like we were before with specific to general, you will try to add one new thing to it. And that's why I said in the beginning you need to have a system of 4 things, right? So now you try to add new things. So let's say using these in 1 month you are on average up 20R. Okay, now let's say now you try to add RSI in the first month and you're gonna be up 8R, so the net difference is a minus 2R. Let's say the next month you try to add quarterly cycles and this time you will be up 20 minus 12R, you will be up 24R, so it's a net plus 4R. Let's say the next month you try to add what else, open interest, and this month you are up 10R, so it's a net 10R difference. And by doing this you have now integrated quarterly cycles into your system. Let's say now you have a system with market structure, liquidity, fair value gaps, volume profiles and quarterly cycles, and you feel like lately price has ignored fair value gaps. So next month you will cut off fair value gaps and you will start using order blocks instead, and you're gonna see the difference. It's basically trial and error over and over again and analyzing the differences in risk to reward that were provided. But this is the main thing that you need to remember. Always check for the data, always look which one brings you the biggest profits, and you always need to have a core of either 4 or 5 components that need to be stable. 4 components need to stay the same every single time, and you're only gonna switch one component. Because what happens if, let's say, I start with my system with market structure, liquidity, volume profiles, fair value gaps, and open interest. Let me delete one comment. And let's say that 1 month you decide, well, I'm not gonna use open interest, I'm gonna use CVD instead, and I'm gonna use OBs instead of fair value gaps, and you see that your profit went up 10R. Well, did it go up 10R because you started using order blocks, or because you started using CVD? You don't know. So that's why it's good to only change one thing. Okay, I'm gonna have to ban this fella. Ban. Okay. Hey Vic, tomorrow I participate on Kane's stream. Yeah, I saw, man. I'm happy for you. Can't wait to watch it. What time is it again? Hopefully it doesn't clash with my Twitch stream, because I really want to watch it. It's nice for you to participate in that. How have you been getting along with the people in 4 p.m. UTC? Oh, for you. So that's 5 p.m. for me. It clashes a little bit with my stream, but I'll ask the members how it was. I see you getting along with Jay, getting along with members. That's beautiful, man. I knew the Chroma is the right place for you. Okay, so I think now everybody understood how we build, let's say, the system of components. But again, we are far from done in voice chat in Chroma. So what do we do next now that we have these 4 components or 5 components lined up? So again, I'm gonna tell you from my experience, my components are market structure, liquidity, volume profiles, fair value gaps, and time, in the sense that I'm trading New York Open, right? What did Ahmed do? He was promoting a scam, or it may not be a scam, but I don't trust such people, saying that he's from Turkey and that his house got destroyed, and he was posting a link to a wallet address so that people donate to him. Listen, if it's real, I'm sorry for you, but such places are for entertainment and not to ask for help, unfortunately. And as much as I would love to help such people out, I myself am not in a position where I can just build other people's houses, you know. I would love to be, but I'm not. And there is a 95% chance that it's a scam anyway, so I'm just gonna delete that. So let's say now you have your system. Now you have to think about stop loss, entry, and TP. Because, well, yes, these 5 components tell you too long, but where the hell do you enter? Where the hell do you place your stop loss? Where the hell do you place your TP? And this is, let's say, so step 1 was creating the checklist. Step 2 was narrowing it down to just, no, step 2 was trying everything in the checklist and logging your results. Step 3 was narrowing it down to a core of key components, and now we are at step 4, which is deciding where do you want to enter, where do you want to place your stop loss, where do you want to place your TP. Let's talk about stop loss. Will my stop loss be wide or narrow? Will my stop loss be the low of the week that swept liquidity, or a little bit higher? This is something that you have to decide. So let's say I go with wide at the wick. Where is my entry? Will it be a market entry, or will it be a limit? Will it be a market entry on candle close or not? Will it be a limit order on a fair value gap or on a Fibonacci level? Let's say we decide for a limit order inside the fair value gap. Now what about the TP? Will I go for high R trades or low R? Will I go for maybe for higher trades for high time frame liquidity that sits far away, or will I go for lower trades at the first liquidity? Let's say we go for lower trades at the first liquidity, right? So now we have our stop loss, which is wide and at the wick. We have our entry, which is a limit at the fair value gap. and we have our TP, which is low R at the first liquidity. And guess what? Again, we're gonna try and log and journal our entries and our trades and find out how we're doing. Let's say in the first month we make 10 R. And then in the second month we're gonna do again only one change at a time. So instead of going for limits at fair value gaps, we're gonna market enter at the candle close. We are gonna get 20 R after this second month. So now we know that this entry is better. The next month we're gonna talk about TPs. So instead of going for lower trades at the first liquidity, we're gonna go for higher trades at high time frame liquidity. Let's say we make a similar amount, like 21 R. What do we do in this case? We just stick to our preference. So your preference was that low R trades are better for you because you don't like watching trades go on for a very long time. So despite this being marginally better, it's only 1 R difference, so I think it's better to stick with something that makes you comfortable. And then in the fourth month, instead of having a wide stop loss at the wick, we're gonna try and have a narrow stop loss at the higher candle in case we long. So in our 4 month, we're gonna make 10 R again. So after 4 months, we have reached the conclusion that 20 R is better for our system, and we're gonna use a wide stop loss at the wick, low R trades at the first liquidity level, and market enter on the close. My dad was calling me. Okay, so again, very important thing. After we have our components, we have to decide where do we place our stop loss, entry, and TP. And very importantly, while you are doing this, do not manage your trade. Do not do that, because it's two completely separate things. The decisions that you take before entering a trade, which you are taking at a neutral level from an emotional perspective, right? Paul, I'm just gonna finish this. So like, do not manage your trades because you want to see how well your initial stop loss, entry, and TP are performing. Okay. And if you interfere with those decisions by moving your stops break even, by market entering despite the fact that you want to test out a limit entry, so follow the plan exactly. What if you TP earlier when your idea was to TP for a higher trade? Like, stick to your plan, do not manage your trades, let them run to stop loss or TP. Another thing that I forgot to mention is that when you are doing this, so we had 4 months in the beginning, now 4 months again. It's a long process, lads. It's not gonna happen overnight. For me, it took me 1.5 years to create my system, and I'm still refining it. I'm on the next step right now, right? And you need to be patient because it's not about making money fast, it's about making sure that you make money. So this means that in the beginning, you need to understand that not making money is your goal, but rather reaching the best system possible so that you can make a lot of money in the future. Because why should we focus? Let's say you want to have a trading career for 20 years, right? Why would we focus on making money in our first year instead of focusing on being the best, creating the best system, and making sure so that for the rest of 19 years that you're gonna trade, you're gonna have the best background possible. It's like when you are a lawyer, you don't go straight in front of a judge, you go to law school. Or like when you want to be a doctor, you go first to med school to learn something, and then you're gonna start operating on people, right? So again, it takes time, but be patient. So now, again, step 1, checklist. Step 2, narrow down the checklist to 4 components. Step 3, decide on entry, stop loss, TP. Step 4 will always be the hardest one. which is gonna be the step that I'm on right now, and for me it was the hardest, for you it will be the hardest, learning how to manage your trades, right? So let's delete all these. What's step 5? Managing our trades while we are in a trade. And why do I say this is the most difficult thing? Well, because step 1 was just find a list of things that other traders use. Step 2 was narrowing down that list by taking, oh, I forgot to mention one thing. In the beginning, when you have so many trades, so many components, take as many trades as possible, because like I said, it's not gonna matter if you make money, so just use like a $5 stop loss or something like that, okay? And make sure that you don't go bankrupt. Again, you will feel sad that you don't make money, but believe me, it's worth it in the long run. Like, take as many trades as possible. Right now I'm taking 1 trade per day, but when I was in step number 2, when I was creating my checklist and narrowing it down, I took like 5 trades a day, 150 trades a month. I was trading day in, day out. Right now I'm taking maybe 20, 30 trades in a month, right? But because I've reached this step where I narrowed down my system, but in the beginning, so for step 2, take as many trades as possible, because step 2 is easy because all you have to do is open a trade and log it. Step 3, where you're trying to improve your model by changing things around with your stop loss, entry, and TP, it's again somewhat, let's say, more difficult, because you have to think about how you want to trade rather than is this component working or not. But that one again is just taking trades and logging trades and see what works for you. Now this 4th step, I forgot how many steps we are in. This is when you are learning how to manage trades, and all the other stuff was done in an emotional neutral state, while these decisions will be taken while you are in a trade, and you will have to manage your emotions. And that's hard. It's hard for people to manage their emotions while trading. And this, when you are at this step, you need to go higher risk up until to a level where you don't feel compelled to exit trades sooner just because of how much money you're winning or how much money you're losing. If at any point in time you're like, oh my god, I'm losing $1,000 on this trade, I need to exit sooner before my stop loss because $1,000 is too much. Or, oh my god, I'm winning $3,000 on this trade, I need to exit now because look at how much money I'm making despite my TP not being hit. It means that you're risking too much. So find a sweet spot where you're risking just enough so that you feel emotions, right? You need to feel that stress of being in a trade, but you need to be able to let trades run fully. And it's something that you learn over time, that you are gonna, what emotions you're gonna feel and what works best for you. Because right now, at the state or at the step of managing trades, these are the questions that you will have to ask yourself. When do I move break even, if ever? And when do I exit sooner, if ever? Right? So this month, these past 2 months, I tried, so my previous system was I never exit break even, I always exit at 2R. Now this month I tried a system where I move break even after 2R or after sweeping significant liquidity if there is no liquidity at my break even. And I exit trade sooner if I am up more than 3R and with print a break of structure against my trade. Now what were the results? So far, by doing this, I am down 8R instead of TPing at 2R, and I am down 2R because of exiting trades at break even. So the conclusion for me after these 2 months is that I should rather never move stops break even and always TP at 2R. That's the conclusion that I've drawn from this. But maybe it's different for you. Maybe your trading system is better to move stops break even for it, and maybe you are able to run trades longer than 3 hours, maybe 4, 5, 7, 9 hours, but I'm not that type of guy. And this is why I say that this is very closely linked to your psychology, because you will always have to measure things. Let's talk about break even, right? What feels worse for you? And you need to put things in a balance. Like this is our balance, right? What feels worse for you? And let me say that there are 4 possible cases. You move stops break even and the trade would have gone to stop loss, so you save 1 hour in UPNL. You move stops break even, the trade would have gone to TP and you lose, let's say, 3 hours in UPNL. You don't move stops break even and it goes to stop loss, so you end up losing 1 hour in UPNL. Or you don't move stops break even and it ends up going to TP, in which case you would be 3 hour. These 2 cases don't matter because they don't affect us psychologically. We will count them as wins. These are the 2 worst outcomes, so this is what we'll put in a balance. What does feel worse for you? Not moving the stop break even and ending up losing 1 hour out of your pocket, or moving stops break even and the trade hits your TP, in which case you lose 3 hour in UPNL. What feels worse? And this is just something that only you can answer. My answer is that it feels worse to lose UPNL rather than lose a trade that I was initially agreeing. So when I entered the trade, I agreed that it's a possibility that I lose the trade and I lose 1 hour, right? And then it's the same thing with exiting sooner. What feels worse for you? And again, the worst possible outcomes is, let's say, TPing at 2 hour and then it ends up going to 6 hour and you end up losing 4 hour in UPNL, or you TP at 2 hour and then you don't TP, sorry. The first one was that you TP at 2 hour and it goes to 6 hour, and the second one is that you don't TP at 2 hour and it ends up going to -1 and you end up losing -3 hour in UPNL. What feels worse? Exiting the trade sooner and seeing it run more, or not exiting the trade sooner and round tripping it? For me, round tripping feels worse. So my conclusion is that I would rather TP all my trades at 2 hour and not move stops break even. But again, these are conclusions that you need to take not only statistically, like what brings you more profits, like I did in this case, but also taking into account your emotions and what feels good and what doesn't feel good. So yeah, that's basically it. What the hell did I do? What the hell did I do? Oh, okay. So yeah, that's basically it. Let's do a quick review. So step number 1 was to choose your components. Step number 2 is journal and narrow it down. Step number 3 was to try to improve your number of components. Step number 4 was deciding on entry, stop loss, TP. Step number 5 was managing the trades. And you can always go back. So let's say right now I'm at a step where I'm learning how to manage my trades. I can always go back to step 3 and try to add a new component. Or I could always go back to step 4 and try to go for narrower stop losses or change the way I enter trades. Like, nothing's fixed, you juggle between these things. But the most important thing is always journal, because journaling gives us data, and data leads us to correct conclusions. Because it's really easy to take 5 trades and say, oh my god, volume profiles are not working for me, I'm never gonna use them. But maybe they do work for you over 50 trades. And that's why journaling is the most important one. And that's it.